Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing the brand new CIVIVI Guile. Along with the Guile, we also will be reviewing the CIVIVI Shawka, the folding fillet knife. The CIVIVI Guile was designed by actor Shawn Ashmore, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Part of the knife community, designing knives. If you don't know who he is, he's played in tons of movies, but most notable in X-Men. So what we have here is I call it medium to large EDC knife at 7.47 inches long. It has a 3¼ inch Wharncliffe blade, satin finish on this one. You got a nice little top swedge that thins out that tip. So it's going to be excellent for those fine precision utility cuts. You got a nice long row of effective jimping there. We have a blade window. We'll talk about that later. And then you also have a milled section just for some added aesthetic there. Shawn's logo there, pretty sweet. And you have this semi-choil right here. I wish I would have made this a little bit bigger because it's really not enough to get your finger in there unless you kind of grab it in the pistol grip, which is how I tend to do it because I like to get close up to that edge when I'm doing it in hand cuts at least. But another reason why I said I wish they would have brought this out some to make it a full forward finger choil, being that you already started it, is that I sharpened this up after I finished the testing, and that's about all I'm going to get before it's going to start to flare. You can see that there because that plunge grind's coming right behind that. I wish they would have brought the plunge grind all the way back, or just move the sharpening choil up so you can have a full forward finger choil. The blade stock thickness on this one's coming in at 0.12 inches thick, and it has a flat grind that comes down to around 20 thousandths behind the edge. Why don't we see what it can do? My knife came with a good edge out of box, and being that you have that straight edge, this is one thing that's really going to shine at. Now, I'm kind of choked up a little bit because you got a pretty nice size space there that you could easily get hung up in that choil area where the choil goes into the scales. So for me, I like to get control and I can see where I'm catching that edge, and I'm holding it in that area so I don't get hung up. But yeah, it's slicing very well. It's not the thinnest CIVIVI grind I've ever had, but it's nice and sharp and it's thin enough. Thin as most production knives that we get these days. So yeah, it definitely did great here. Now we're testing the ergos. I'm choked up again, and you can see me kind of adjusting my finger because it's not the most comfortable. You got to be careful. It's not really what it's meant for. But I noticed whenever I was choked in the back position behind that first choil on the scales, that the pocket clip was becoming a minor hot spot. I was able to get around that by coming up, in that forward area, and I was able to get a lot of force into it. Now, being it's a Warnie, I did lift it up on the block just so I could get enough of that cutting edge onto the cutting surface to be able to do this. It's slicing well. The knife has a good enough bit of bite to that edge, and not always the case with CIVIVI. Sometimes they're sharp, but not always with bite. This one has good sharpness, good bite, and that pinch grip's nice and comfortable. And if you're able to lift a knife up, if you're able to lift the material up onto a block, something like this, then yeah, it's going to really perform well with that straight edge because you can kind of push and slide forward, even do solid motion cuts. One benefit of the Wharncliffe blade shape when you can do something like this. Now you can see me even doing that pointer finger grip. That means it's got bite to it, and y'all know that means it's got to be nice and sharp. Definitely wasn't bad testing it, being that I was able to do this on this block and I got through it. The edge felt great all the way to the end. We cut, a nice size piece of rope there, not really counting, just making sure nothing crazy happens with that edge. But so far, so good. Another place it's going to shine is doing those detail cuts. It's like a little scalpel up there in the front. Sorry, the leather's kind of soft in certain areas and it'll want to crinkle. So I did a few extra pieces just because it was that easy. Look at that. Like a scalpel. And that's my fault. At the end, I let up right before I got to the end, so it wasn't a nice fault. User error. I'm not a pro, so even though I've done this thousands of times, not a pro yet. One day. Be careful if you're doing stuff like that, that tip doesn't get buried into whatever you're cutting on, because you could snap your tip. And you can do some cuts on flat cutting surface, just not easy. Well, in my opinion, the performance wasn't bad at all. Let's check out the deployment action. So you have a front flipper, excellent jimping, and you have that blade window. In my opinion, the blade window is the best. Excellent reverse flicker, nice smooth action. You can also thumb flick it, but you do have to kind of scoot yourself down some. At least I think so. You can also slow roll it. You can do the drop down. And then you can front flip it with the knuckle roll. Reach around, slow roll, however you want to do it. It's got a perfectly tuned detent for both actions. It's riding on cage ceramic ball bearings with a ceramic detent ball, giving it a nice silky smooth action. Let's touch on the ergos real quick. You got a fairly neutral handle, one choil area right here. Choke back like that, it's okay, being that these scales are kind of narrow. I did feel the pocket clip. It wasn't terrible, but it was definitely noticeable. If this would have been a forward finger choil, I would have completely probably missed that, because whenever I just choked up like this around that, I was able to miss the pocket clip in the back. So yeah, another reason why I wish this would have been a full forward finger choil. This pull grip is probably the most comfortable for me. And then if you want to do the reverse gas station knife fight grip to put it in a log or something to make a feather stick, you can easily do that because you got a nice flat spot to rest your thumb on. In hand cuts, you got full power from heel to tip, being you have that straight edge. So I felt like it was a very powerful cutter, even though you got a narrow handle. You just have to squeeze it a little bit tighter, to keep it from spinning if you're really pushing hard. Now let's close it up, take a look at the scales. So I have the ivory color Peel Ply G10, offers just the right amount of traction without being uncomfortable at all. You got 3 little milled lines there. You have chamfer going all the way around, plus they knocked off the hard edge where the chamfer ends. Love that. No sharp areas where you don't want them to be. You have the CIVIVI logoed pivot there. That's flush with the scales. T8 pivot, T8 body screws. Very nice, crisp Torx heads there. And as you can see, you got holes on the left side. So this is a reversible tip-up deep carry pocket clip. They did not insert into the G10. However, they did countersink those screws. And I haven't had an issue yet of getting hung up there. I can't say that it won't happen, but so far it's been okay. You have flow-through construction, 2 hourglass standoffs in the back right there, a bunch of internal milling on the stainless steel liners on the show side scale to bring down the weight and balance the knife out. You also have one little pocket on the lock side right there. Hopefully y'all can see that in the back. Bringing the weight down to 2.88 ounces. So absolute featherweight. Let's check out where that balance point is. Absolute perfection. So it's going to feel even lighter in hand because of the balance being perfect like that, because it won't be blade heavy or butt heavy. The lockup on my knife sitting at around, I'd say 40% or so. Access to that lock bar, the show side comes down a little bit lower than the lock side, and you do have some texture there. I usually don't like to see the texture, but this one's not uncomfortable for me to disengage. I can use this portion or the tip of my thumb, no problem whatsoever. Lock up on mine. No play up or down, left or right. I can flex side to side. Now time for some quick size comparisons. It's in the middle of the Ontario Wrap Model 1 and 2. And it's a little shorter than the CIVIVI Vision FG. And it's a little bigger than the CIVIVI Elementum Warning. And it's a little smaller than the CJRB Pyrite Light. And it's a little bigger than the CJRB Alt Pyrite. And lastly, it's just a hair shorter than the Volsteed Raccoon. And it's just about identical in length to the CJRB Echo. Now, being that absolutely no nice perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? I wish they would have gave it a bigger forward finger choil, so it would have also doubled as a bigger sharpening choil, because after your first sharpening, you're going to start to run into that thicker plunge grind. So you either have to fix it yourself or just let it continue to get thicker. And you got to be careful because that stop pin is pretty darn close to that edge. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but yeah, I'm so tired of seeing that. That's never good to see. And personally, I think this would have been a much better knife with a hollow grind, just because you got a short grind height. Every time you sharpen it, it's going to get thicker and thicker rather quickly. If it was a hollow grind, it would take a lot longer to get thicker, be a little bit slicier. That said, it still performed really well. It's definitely a well-made knife. I like the overall aesthetics. It's a great knife for utility detailed type stuff, and it's a very powerful cutter. It's a great size for EDC, and it's an absolute featherweight. So nothing I talked about was a deal breaker for you, then yes, I can recommend this knife. If you're interested in picking one up, I will have it linked down below in the description along with the Shawka. So after checking this out at Blade Show, I gave them a couple of suggestions. They didn't really take them, but it comes with a nylon sheath. This is something I think would be great to throw in a pack, a fishing tackle box, or the console of your truck. It weighs absolutely nothing, and it's not going to take a whole bunch of room up anyway. You got a button snap here, belt loop, button snap here, and the knife. So you have an aluminum frame, which is allowing it to keep the weight down. Clamshell construction, as you can see there. Being that it's a fillet knife, it's pretty large at 13.14 inches overall. Your handle on this one in this position is 7.33 inches long. And you have a 5.81 inch trailing point blade of 14C 2010 steel, satin finish on that blade. You got some perfect jimping up top that gives you good traction. And you also have a forward finger choil that I can rest my finger on. You got a decent bit of room there. You got a nice precision tip there, so if you need to get into a fish or a bag of potato chips, you should be able to do it rather easily. The 14C is a huge upgrade in my opinion, because all my Rapalas, or however you say it, I don't even know what steel those are in, and I have to sharpen those after pretty much every single fishing trip. So your benefits with the 14C, it should have better edge retention, should be a lot tougher, and better corrosion resistance as well. Let's check out the flex. You got some flex. Now, not quite as much as my Rapalas, but you do have some flex to it. You got nice thin blade stock at 0.08 inches with a full flat grind, and it comes down nice and thin to around 14 to 15 thousandths behind the edge. So it should be a great slicer. We're going to do a little bit of cut testing with it just to see how it performs. Just as I expected, this thing is slicing like a laser beam. You have, that full flat grind, super thin blade stock, ground nice and thin, super long blade. Yeah, it's making sharp work this, and even though it's a trailing point, it's such a long blade, the belly's not too crazy. So you can do nice and long cuts like this, and light duty stuff. If you wanted to use this in a pinch, you could definitely do it. And here I'm only testing ergos. I'm not going to get too crazy with it because you got a lot of flex this blade. I'm not trying to break this thing, but I do want to see how it feels once I, increase the pressure just a little bit. Will you be using it this hard? Probably not, especially if you put it in a fishing roll and you're going to be cleaning fish with it. You're not going to be doing this type of stuff, but just wanted to see how much control I had and how locked in I was. Even though there's no texture, you are pretty darn locked in because of the thickness and the extra width, but I couldn't say with it being slimy. Now this is where I was wanting to test. See, out there toward the tip, you're flexing a little bit too much to be able to do this easily, so I pulled it back some where it's going to be a little bit more rigid. And if you had to do stuff like this, you could easily do it. It's making it super easy, but I had to get closer toward that choil area, and just so you have enough rigidity. You don't want you to be pushing hard and that blade to bend out on you and either cut you or snap. So you can use that belly to do dry cuts, but like I said, that belly's not too crazy, and you'll see I just went through with that tip. So you could do it like that. Now, like I said, I'm just testing this edge out. Want to see how it's going to handle through these stiffer materials, denser materials, and stuff like that. And just as I expected, with that thin blade stock, full flat grind, this one sliced very, very well. Now let's talk about the ergos real quick. I'm sure you saw in the testing, you had this longer handle so you can fit this long blade into it. You also have a little lock right here. If you disengage that lock, you can fold this handle, making it wider, and you got nice thickness there. Choke back, it's nice and comfortable. You can choke up. That's where I like to sit, right there in that forward choil area. When I was doing the testing, that's how I was holding it. It definitely makes it way more comfortable than having it all the way out like that. But if you need to use it in a pinch like this, you can definitely get some stuff done, especially being that you have this wider section right there. Wrap your index finger around that and it'll lock you in a lot better. They did a great job of softening all the aluminum edges. There's no sharp areas anywhere. Now it doesn't lock in this position. However, you don't really need it to because you're gonna be squeezing down on it. One suggestion I did make to CIVIVI that I really wish I would have seen is that they add some grooves or some texture along this handle, because whenever you're filleting a fish, the fish are very, very slimy. And get that on your hands and you're grabbing a hold of this aluminum handle, which is already smooth. You know, while it's comfortable, I want it to be grippy, not just the jimping up here. That could be a potential problem. I don't know. I haven't filleted any fish with it yet. That's something I'll have to do an update on after. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I think it would have been smart to have the texture here, just because aluminum's already a fairly slick material. This anodizing is not really chalky feeling. When you're not using it in this, you just open it back up, you slide the lock back in that area, and it's back locked again. See if I can show you this up close. There's a little tab right there. Slide that, it moves out of the way. You got to get it just right, or you can't push the little tab over into the little channel. So I mean, it has a little bit of movement there, but you know, it's not like you could be holding it back here trying to whack into something. So I don't think that's a big deal. Now let's close it up, take a look at the action. This fillet knife is riding on caged ceramic bearings, and talk about a silky smooth action. So you have a fuller on both sides. You can either pinch and open it, or you can pinch like this, open it one-handed, and man, is it smooth. Look at that. I don't think I've seen a fillet knife that was a drop shut knife. Let's see, this will be funny. I've not tried this. See if I can reverse flick a fillet knife. Oh, I can thumb flick it. You got to kind of bury your thumb in there. My detent is too strong for me to reverse flick, but if I bury my thumb in there, I can do a thumb flick. Not something you'll probably need to be doing while you're fishing, but you never know. Now let's close it up and take a look at the handle. So like I said, aluminum frame. There's different colors if this isn't your thing. Yeah, the CIVIVI branded pivot there. Your pivot is a Torx T8. All the other screws for your body screws and any other, the little joint right there, all those are T6. Of course, I would like to see them all T8. However, you know, that's definitely not a deal breaker for me personally. They do have a lot of screws here. These screws right here to hold on the locking liner. Let's take a look at the centering. On such a large blade, you can look at the little separation of the scales right there. Look at that line. Looks like it might be a little to the right, just a hair, but I mean, that's a large blade. I'm pretty impressed. This is a liner lock, and my lockup is around, I'd say 60, maybe 70% or so. Access to the lock is okay. That texture is a little bit more aggressive than we usually see from CIVIVI, but I'm sure it's because the little space. I mean, I can use the tip of my thumb to disengage that, but it's not the most comfortable for my hands. But this portion right here, absolutely no problem whatsoever. The lockup, no movement up or down, none left to right. I can definitely flex side to side because you can flex the whole blade. The flex, I'm not really too concerned with. Well, I thought a size comparison would be rather comical. It's just a little shorter than the Cold Steel Rajah 2, and it's a good bit bigger than the Cold Steel 4 Max Scout. And the closest I could find was the Cold Steel Mayhem, which is just a hair longer. And of course, it dwarfs the Ontario Rat Model 1. Now, being that absolutely no knife is perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints for this one? I wish they would have given us a better sharpening choil. I don't like seeing these type because your plunge grind, it's going to start thickening up. Talked about it a little while ago. Wish they would have had some texture on these smooth aluminum scales, just so when your hands get slippery from fish guts, it doesn't come sliding out of the hand. And it could have possibly been a little better with a little bit more flex to the blade, but as it sits, I think it's good enough. Lastly, I think is going to have to be the price. Now, these come in at $114, which is steep, especially if you're thinking about it as a fillet knife. Because I don't know about y'all, but before this fillet knife, all I owned is the Rapalas. And I think I paid like 30 bucks, 20 bucks for those. So it's going to be hard to convince a fisherman that they need this. But I will say I got two buddies that fish pretty much every single day when they get off of work. And I'm going to try to gift both of them one of these. Either for Christmas, their birthdays. I think they will absolutely love it. As a gift, I think that would make a very cool gift for a fisherman in your life. So if you're interested in picking up one of these for yourself or somebody else, I will have it linked down below in the description right alongside the guile. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. Let me know your thoughts on the folding fillet knife, and what do y'all think about movie stars in the knife community? I think it's awesome. Do you like the CIVIVI Guile or Shawka? Two interesting knives that will both be linked down below in the description. If you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me down below, and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep your blade sharp, smile more.